welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica. Along with me, we have Mac Wade, who is the Executive Director with the Port of Morgan City. It's about that time. I like to do these check-ins with you and figure out where we are, where's the money, cha-ching, cha-ching. But let's kind of start off with hurricane season. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of our officials. We're in the middle of the year, so July, and cross our fingers, say your prayers, knock on wood. We do not receive a hurricane, but I know typically there's hurricane meetings held at the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. Where are we as far as preparation for in the event there's a hurricane?
Danica, was it last month or maybe in May? We had a meeting. We probably had right at about 90 people attend. We had a lot of state officials there, parish officials. All the emergency operations folks in the parish were meeting. We are, and if you've seen the forecast, unfortunately, the forecasts do not look good. That doesn't mean we're going to get something, but all the conditions are bad. Right now, you saw last week, there's Hurricane Beryl, and it set a record for the strongest hurricane ever. And there's never been one that early in June, a Cat 5. And if you notice one thing about Hurricane Beryl, it was scheduled to go into Mexico. A few hours later, it's going to go in maybe between Mexico and Brownsville, Texas. Then it's going to go to Brownsville. Oh, it's going to go into Corpus Christi. This thing, and thank goodness that it started weakening, but it goes into Galveston. It moved over 300 miles from its track in the last 20 hours. So when they say, oh, it's not coming our way, you can't count those things out till they come in. But we feel like we're prepared. From the highway system, the DOTD was even at the meeting. We got problems trying to get out of this area. We got a bridge right now. Highway 182 is out. You're not going to be able to use it. And I hate to tell you, when you drive about 20 miles west of Morgan City on Highway 90, it goes down to one lane. You may get back to four lane, then you drive another 20 miles around New Iberia. How are you going to get out? They're very concerned.
Our issue also, we're kind of landlocked. Like, we don't have an east or west. I mean, we don't have a north or south. We just have an east or west, and you could pretty much go one direction. Now, I recall Hurricane Katrina. At the time, I was in the New Orleans area, and so we had a couple of routes. We had contraflow. And thankfully, we didn't. Honestly, we didn't go into Baton Rouge. That was kind of a debacle in itself. We managed to go actually further up north. So that kind of helped us avoid that traffic congestion. But just think about that.
Danica, it's bad.
That would be...
You got several hundred thousands of people down this way, depending on where it goes. And the problem is, you're going to have to go earlier than you normally would if you'd say, well, I'm going to leave 24 hours ahead of time. The roads are a problem going west. You've basically taken out 2 lanes of traffic where you had 4. I mean, we do have Highway 70, but that's a 2-lane road. Everybody's very concerned.
So look, Mac, let me ask you this. Can you get me a plane? Yeah. Okay, just I'm gonna ask that. You know, just get me a plane.
Yeah,
and we'll
get out of here.
Yeah, but so, I know we're kind of starting a little bit with doom and gloom. But because you have to know the expectations. How will that affect the dredging that's going on? And how many dredges do we have going on at the
right
moment?
Now, we had 2 as of this past Sunday. One left. It finished in Berwick Harbor. But let me just say this: our channel. We got blue water all the way out to the sea buoy. From Morgan City all the way to the sea buoy, we got blue water. Mac, it's not really blue water. Well, I know that. It's kind of muddy a little bit. But when you look on the surveys, it shows it's blue. We've got the best channel ever. There was a hurricane that hit about 6 or 7 years ago.
Wait, recall, just so I know, what that means is that we are clear.
Clear,
yes,
clean.
Clean
we got
water
20 by 40, 400 foot wide.
We've cleaned the silt, and all that's clear.
Good.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on that, so okay.
I'm trying to think of the name, but it was a hurricane that hit on the other side of Houston, a horrible hurricane, and we didn't get anything over here. But people don't understand, when that Gulf of Mexico starts swirling around with all your currents. We had just got through dredging down in the Bar Channel. I had 20 foot, because I had a survey done a week and a half before the storm. It's 400 miles away. It shifted the whole continental shelf out there in the Gulf, the sand around, and it dumped 5 foot of sediment in my channel.
Yeah.
And we didn't have nothing from it.
That's
but
right.
I lost the channel. Millions of dollars down the drain. So
Yes.
very concerned about that if we have a storm.
Right. Well, definitely want to pick this up and talk a little bit more about, as far as dredging, because I mean, at one time we had, we had like 5 or 6 dredges
Yes.
going on at one time.
Yes.
But you did say they were good and clear, so that's good news. Come on back. We've got much more to cover right here on the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back. Let's get right back into it. We have Mac Wade, who is the executive director with the port. So we just talked about pretty much hurricanes, and that is kind of, and maybe even the worst case scenario, and that is get out of Dodge, and also how that affects the waterway, because it does not matter. Mother Nature does what she wants to do. We may not get a direct impact, but sometimes that affects the waterway by dropping all that sediment, and we know trying to get all that fluff out of the water and trying to dredge it. But right now we're down to about, is it 1 dredge?
We had 2, we're down to 1 right now. We have another one going to be coming into the Berwick Harbor here pretty soon. And Danica, one last thing on the hurricanes, even though the hurricane can affect our waterways being hundreds of miles away.
Right.
You can say, well, it didn't even come here. Mac wasn't even 100 miles of you. Yes, right. But what it does under the surface, along the coastline, you don't see that, and it can move large amounts of sediment. Yeah. And it depends on which way the hurricane's going, but we lost a channel a couple of years ago because of that.
Speaking of which, let's get to that. Talking about that waterway, this Mississippi River study that you guys are doing, and talking about bringing in some sediment. I'm not very happy about what I heard about this study. Kind of give us a summary.
Nick, I'm glad you asked about that. This Mississippi River study has been approved by Congress. They put up $25 million, and they gave the money to the Corps of Engineers. They're going to do a 5-year study. Now, and we were talking earlier, this has kind of been talked about for years,
Yes.
but no, they actually got the money. It was only talk back then. But what this boils down to, you got the Mississippi River. We are not on the Mississippi, but we are a tributary off the Mississippi. So it's the Mississippi River study and the Mississippi River tributaries. We're the only one in Louisiana. We're the only tributary. We're the only ones. We take 30% a day off the Mississippi, 7 days a week. If it's flooding, we take 30%. If it's a drought, we take 30%. That's mandated by Congress.
So what this study wants to do, or these environmentalists who are a part of this, and I think it's even there's a lawsuit that's out there?
There's lawsuits. Mississippi is suing Louisiana, and and your environmental groups along Mississippi coast are suing Louisiana. And our own environmentalist groups in Louisiana are joining the lawsuit with them.
So what they want to do is take the water, increase the flow of Mississippi into the Atchafalaya. We're already taking on 30%. They want to push as much, maybe 50%.
Yes.
Now, look, I think we have a really good levee system, but we're already talking about dredging. We're talking about keeping the waterway free. I don't think that's going to be a good thing. And are they not thinking about the people that live here? What's going on here?
No, they're not thinking about the people. Because there's more. They're trying to protect New Orleans and Baton Rouge. But the problem is, Danica, they want to close up the Bonacary Spillway. They're saying the reason we're suing you because when you open up the Bonacary Spillway, and that Mississippi River water flows into Lake Pontchartrain and goes out through the sound down there into the Mississippi Sound, you're killing the fish, you're killing the dolphins, you're killing the turtles, you're putting too much fresh water in, it messes up the oyster beds, and that's what this is all about. They want to close the Bonacary, never open it up. Open it up is a dire emergency, but go open up the Morganza. The Morganza is the last resort up on the Mississippi, and that dumps in on us 100%. All I can say, if they're thinking about doing this, you better make our levees a lot higher because you're going to fill my basin up so high, my river up there so high, all you're going to do is push the water higher.
Yes.
But we don't handle 30% real well. It's just in the last year or two we finally got funding. That's why we got a channel all the way out. It took millions and millions of dollars to do that. And like I told them, I said, folks, I'm not telling you I'm against it. All I can tell you, if anything you add on us, you have got to keep us dredged.
Yes.
Keep the channel open and we could take more
Well,
water.
we can't take 50%.
No, and no more funding. We won't last. You'll be able to walk across the river.
Right. All right. Well, we're going to take another break. Come on back right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back. Let's get right back into this discussion of this Mississippi River study. And I'm really appalled by this, and maybe I can say these things. So we're here to, we're out to save the dolphins, the oyster beds, the speckled trout. I get it. Good eating and great fishing, you know, it's a sportsman's paradise. But it should be life over property. I mean, life over, you know, that's just my feelings. Come on down to our area and fish out here. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like there's not enough emphasis on life and the people who have a lifestyle in this community, and to bring
make their living here.
and to shift that water. It's already a heavy load on us, and the way, in order to keep it open, we would need more dredging. Well, that's millions of dollars as well, and it's got to be a constant thing. This is not like you check in once a year to do
no.
with that type of water coming into our system.
Think about it. What the amount of sediment we get now, Danica, just roughly we move about 10 million yards of sand a year between the Berwick Harbor all the way out to the sea buoy. Move about 10 million. That's at 30%. If you increase that flow up it's going to be more. The last 2 years we received some funding, so that's why we're open now. Mm-hmm. The minute you cut back on our funding, that sediment's going to get higher and higher and higher. It's going to affect traffic, and if the sediment gets higher, the water's going to go higher. Mm-hmm. And
we've been here before.
You're going to wipe out all our industries,
Yes.
everything on the outside of the flood wall. Well, are we going to flood here? Well, if the bottoms keep rising, we don't have subsidence down here. That's what people, the coast is washing away, going away. Not us.
We're growing. We're gaining land. We have Foley Island. Okay?
That's exactly right. And Foley Island is still there and going to be there.
Yes.
I
want to just continue on, because this brings me back to the Krotz Springs tour, and that was when we had a lot of the legislators come down. These people who were appointed to these positions,
right.
To do kind of a survey of our area to understand why we need funding. Yeah. We haven't done that in how many years? I think I've been on one tour. I didn't go all the way to Krotz Springs, but it was kind of a, hey, this point and click and tell you what we need and why we need these things. We've been dried up before. I remember we're supposed to be designated at 20 feet. We were at 13 in some locations, and that is ridiculous. So, I mean, are the numbers and the data not being sent down to?
The thing is, and what you're talking about, they call it the low water trip. That's where the congressional delegations, the people on the Mississippi Valley Commission ride the boat down. They start up, they could start all the way up in Minnesota, and they'll make about 5 or 6 stops. We are always the last stop on the low water trip. It's been probably 2 or 3 years since we've done that, because COVID knocked the boat out. One time a hurricane was coming, knocked our trip out, 2 days before. And then another time, 2 days, when the boat was in Vicksburg for a public hearing. The next day it was going to be in Krotz Springs. We were going to catch it. COVID, had an outbreak of COVID. So it's been at least 3 years since the boat's been in. It's very important when that boat comes in, because at least you get a chance to express some of your opinion. And these people are not from down here.
That's right. No.
They could be from anywhere in the country with the Corps. They don't understand what's going on. But so many people around the nation, first of all, they can't pronounce the Chafalaya River if they had to and never spell it.
Yeah.
And when you say, well, you take 30%, nobody believes that, but it's the facts. I'm not stating that. It's mandated in Congress. Yeah. And for them to want to change that on us, if you change it, you got to give us more help. That means you've got to keep us dredged, or we're going to be, all our businesses, the way of life, it's gone down here.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. They want to go to 50%. And the only way they would ever open up the bond of carry if everything was the Great Flood.
Yeah. Now we've talked, obviously, I know, look, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've been on the ugly for a minute now. I definitely want to talk about the good, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, especially our local industry,
Yes.
what's going on with that. Also, we were talking about, you know, it's always about the money and getting these grants. Shout out to Mr. Noblock, Mr. Michael Noblock, because I know he has stayed busy. So we'll get to that when we come back. Y'all stay right here on The Voice of the Coast. Welcome back. Again, we're talking about, we're going to go to the good stuff now. Let's talk a little bit about the industry. How's the shipyards? Are they full? We're getting work in?
Danica, you mentioned a while ago about our river being open. We got that blue water. Yes, our shipyards are busy. You've got all kind of fabrication going on. We've got shipbuilding going on. We got repair business going on. You've got defense contractors working down in this area. This is tremendous for this area. And the thing about it, it generates lots of dollars for this parish and this community. It generates lots of dollars for the state, and it generates lots of dollars for the U.S. economy. And some of these companies, if it wasn't for them, they're protecting us. They're giving us security for this country because they're building a lot of military stuff that's taking place in this area.
Now, I can vouch for that because I went on one of the trips, and I
Right.
mean, I saw so much going on.
Yes.
I mean, booked and busy. So that's a good thing that we still have all this going on.
Yes.
And how does that affect our tonnage? Because the tonnage report is important, but I know it's very hard to gather all those numbers.
Me and Cindy both breathe a sigh of relief now. When the colonel was down about a month and a half ago, and he took a boat ride with us, that same ride you went on, he started seeing all this. He said, this is the selling point for this community. What y'all bring to the nation. Look at all this construction. Look at all this military stuff. He says, that's worth way more than a barge of grain. So we need to look at you a little bit different. We need to look at the value you bring. And he said, that's a return for the American taxpayer. That was what me and Cindy wanted to hear.
Now, that sounds like a good soundbite right there.
Very, very good. We got the colonel saying that, and we're putting together 2 new videos of the area showing all this work.
Okay.
You've got wind energy stuff going on. Components are being built for the wind energy market. People say, well, Mac, they're not going to put any wind energy off the Gulf. They put it in other places in the world. Stuff's being built right here. We got stuff going on for an LNG plant, the largest LNG plant in America that's being built down in Plaquemine Parish below New Orleans right now. 90% of the components that's going into that plant are being put together right here in Bayou Buff, which is on our waterways.
Let's get to at least 2 more things that I have to ask you about grants. We're talking about money, so
Yes.
we are able to get our hands on some grants in order to help us move a lot of these projects along. I know you've been working with MARAD, that's out of
Yes.
New Orleans, linked to DC as well.
Yes.
So are we getting more grants come through?
Yes,
Or we
ma'am.
at a
We are getting
standstill?
more grants, and we're applying for additional grants. Mike Noblock, you know Mike. He works for the port. He's our grant writer. At last month's meeting, he put a little summary together. In the last 2 years, the port has received right at $50 million in federal grants. It could be with MARAD, with different agencies. Now listen, these grants are great. It takes a lot of effort, real hard to get one. But when you're awarded one, that money just doesn't happen that minute. It takes time, and then once you get the grant, there's the work's not over. Now you've got to manage that grant all the way through. All the paperwork is through, but that's where Mike comes in.
Yes.
But the port has been very blessed, and I'm very thankful. We've received a lot of money, not only counting from the federal government, but we received a ton of money through the state of Louisiana through the DOT Port Priority Program and the Capital Outlay Program.
Now, this is the last thing I need to get to, and that is the West Dock. East Dock has been completed, and
Yes.
we're talking about the port, which is along Young's Road. I haven't been there to see it. I want to go. I want to get a tour of how the East Dock,
Yes.
but the West Dock is totally like there's nothing there practically. But you're waiting on funds for that.
We got the money. It's $30 million. We're ready to spend today. The problem is I'm waiting on some permits. You got to have your permits. The money is from MARAD and the state. We have the money. It's not a matter of the money. It's $30 million. So we have that. We just got to get the permit, and it takes time. It's got to be patient in this game. But thank you for asking.
Yes. All right. Well, that's about it. Foley Island.
Foley Island is doing well.
All right.
It is doing very well.
I need my sign up, and I need it to be on the map that says, "You are now passing Foley Island." All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll see you guys next time. Y'all take care.